Back to Hardball, House Democrats vowed to issue a subpoena if the White House failed to turn over documents related to the Ukraine investigation by today. And tonight, the Democrats have followed through on that. In a letter sent to the White House, the chairman of the House Oversight, Intelligence, all chairs, and Foreign Affairs committees warned the White House that its failure to or refusal to comply with the subpoena shall constitute evidence of obstruction of the House's impeachment inquiry. NBC News has learned the White House is expected to send a letter to Speaker Nancy Pelosi arguing the administration will not consider turning over any documents unless the House votes to officially authorize an impeachment inquiry. The chairman responded to that impending letter, writing, Speaker Pelosi has confirmed that an impeachment inquiry is underway, and it's not for the White House to say otherwise. For where I'm joined by Democratic Congressman Jamie Raskin of Maryland, who sits on a couple of big committees, House Judiciary and Oversight. Thank you. This, to me, is harebrained. The President of the United States telling the Congress that there's rules in the House. The rules in the House are up to the House, and the House Speaker is saying we're going to go ahead and act.
Well, they're our rules. They're not his rules. He doesn't. He wouldn't know rules if they hit him over the head with a brick. And we're complying with our rules. The Constitution doesn't require any prior vote by the House of Representatives before the committees can investigate, and neither do the House rules. So the committees are doing our job, and the president should busy himself with complying with our request so he turns over all the documents relating to that perfect phone call that he had. If he's got nothing to hide, and he continues to say he's got nothing to hide, turn everything over.
Okay, I think you guys have them. And I mean that as a non-lawyer. But when I look at abuse of power, this is it. I see it. I see a president using his power, control of U.S. foreign policy, control of U.S. foreign military aid that he had the ability to freeze. He said, I'll unfreeze it if you give me some dirt on my opponent. Same thing with the Chinese. He's exploiting public office and public trust for personal political gain. You got him.
Absolutely.
And also, a second article, I think you've got him on resisting all these subpoenas you've been issuing. Anyway, your thoughts. Do you have them yet?
Yes, we do. First of all, you stated it perfectly right, Chris. This is a corruption of his public office for private ends. And that's what he was doing with the foreign emoluments, bagging millions of dollars from foreign governments at the hotels and resorts. It's what he's doing when he spends federal taxpayer dollars down at Mar-a-Lago and in New Jersey and in Virginia at all the golf courses and hotels. That actually is the constitutional meaning of bribery in the impeachment clause. It's not a quid pro quo, and I think we've got that anyway.
Do you have a 218 for this? Because I agree with you completely, Congressman. Do you have 218 for this to do it if you had a vote next week or 2 weeks from now? What are you waiting for?
Look, nobody's counting votes at this point. Right now, what we're trying to do is to get the story out to the American people. We're in an unprecedented posture here. The President of the United States tried to use the military and national security muscle of our country to shake down a foreign leader in order to obtain political leverage over an opponent, to get him to produce dirt on Joe Biden. That is an absolutely scandalous and untenable situation we're in, and now we're seeing his mental state rapidly unraveling on a daily basis, where he calls American citizens traitors and liars and spies and uses profanity in public and so on. So it's an alarming situation. I think that before this is over, we're going to have significant defections from the Republican caucus. Yes, on the House side and on the Senate side. And they are going to be begging us to do something about it because, you see, he's an albatross on the Republican Party. He's going to drag their entire party down. Abraham Lincoln was our first Republican president. Donald Trump could be our last Republican president.
Me about that.
He could destroy the whole party.
Congressman, that's news.
Yeah.
Have you had conversations with Republicans on your committee or elsewhere on the House floor that lead you to believe they're ready to break?
Well, they're certainly ready to break psychologically. They don't know what to do about this situation because Donald Trump politically has stolen their base from underneath them. He's still at 70% maybe in the polls, and Republicans. It's going down, but he's still got a majority of Republicans for him. But his support is rapidly dwindling and almost non-existent among Democrats and independents. So
when I was growing up politically, I was watching the Watergate hearings in the Senate side. They were on every day. People they knew all the characters. People knew everything about it. Then we had the House Judiciary Committee hearings when they actually considered articles of impeachment against Nixon. Primetime television. Everybody watched it. What opportunities do you have to get this before the American people, the full account of this?
We think the whole country is watching very carefully. We think that everybody who's heard about it understands exactly what happened with this shakedown of Ukraine, this sellout of our Constitution and our national security, and then the cover-up of the whole thing. And people understand that what they're doing now is trying to drag their feet, run out the clock while obstructing Congress. And your point that you started with is absolutely right. This was Article 3 in the Nixon impeachment articles, contempt of Congress. You are obstructing Congress in a role. And Donald Trump goes way beyond Richard Nixon, both the underlying criminal conduct, but also in his attempts to shut down all access to information. We're Congress. We're the people's representatives. We have the right to get the facts that we want.
Get out there. You're great. Doing great.